All right, we're probably good to get started. Audrey and Cameo, if you'd like to take it away.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our presentation. We're going to go over Webspark 2 local web development and best practices. My name is Camille. Hold on, let me just advance the slides. If I can, there we go. I know how to do this. My name is Camille Hill. I'm a senior web platforms engineer in enterprise technology, and my co-presenter is Audrey.
Yes, and I work on the web dev consulting team, so I'm also in ET, but on a different team from Cameo, and we're some of the people who grab support tickets that come in through the help for updating and things like that.
All right, this is going to be an action-packed presentation. We have a lot to go over, and we're going to do it live, so it's going to be like, let's do this, Pantheon. Hopefully the dashboard stays up. So we're going to go over the parts of a Drupal site, Pantheon workflow, local development overview. We're going to do a DDev, mostly DDev, and Composer demos. We're going to talk about Terminus, but I probably won't be doing a lot of Terminus stuff. Composer, Audrey's going to go over Composer and Pantheon's integrated Composer workflow. We're going to touch on best practices, and we're going to try to do an upstream demo and hope that it goes well. I was already trying one earlier that went well, and then all of a sudden it didn't, then it did. So we're flying here. Hopefully it'll work out. I'm confident that it will. And if not, I brought my ukulele so we can have like so while things are like loading, I don't even know if that sounds correct with the audio because I was trying to play music earlier and it wasn't working. Anyway, next slide. It's all you, Audrey.
Cool. So these are very general terms that you'll hear people talk about with Drupal sites. When we are doing local development, we are primarily concerned with code. So when you do a git clone and you pull down a local copy of your site, what you're pulling down is that code. And that's the kind of thing that you can open up in a code editor like VS Code and mess with. So the files in the code are like PHP files, Composer files. Drupal loves to have lots of different names for PHP files, like a .module, a .info, all of those are also PHP files. So that's what we are talking about primarily when we talk about code. And when we pull in updates from the upstream, we are pulling down code updates when you do that pull. The database is kind of where your content lives, right? So as developers, we don't generally directly view or edit that database. Instead, we update the database by performing actions within the Drupal admin UI. Like, for example, you could go into a page and add a card arrangement or open up a WYSIWYG and add some text that edits the database. Or you can use Drush to perform actions on the database, like clearing the cache or running an update hook. And lastly is files. Files is the least likely part of a Drupal site to cause drama. And usually they move hand in hand with the database. They're really closely tied to the content in the database. So for example, if you upload a file to a photo to a card arrangement, the database has a reference to that file that you uploaded. So the file goes into your little files directory, but the database expects that file to be there. So those two kind of stay married. We usually move database and files together, and we don't have to think about files too much more than that on a good day. On the next slide, yep. This is just a shot of a backup from a Pantheon site. So you can see that each environment has separate code, database, and files, and those are backed up separately. And that's kind of a teaser to some of what we're going to be talking about in the Pantheon workflow. We are going to be treating these things differently and as we're trying to apply updates. So next is you, Camille.
Yes, these are some Pantheon terms. Yeah, they're specific to Pantheon environments. I'm not sure how many of you are actually working on the as developers on these Pantheon sites, but these are some terms for the environments. The environments such as dev, test, live, and multi-dev are separate containers with code, database, and files associated with them. So they're like a copy of your site, basically. Each environment is a copy. In the dev environment, that's where your master code base lives. And basically you work and make changes in the dev environment. You can also do them in a multi-dev, which is kind of a sandbox of dev, or well, it's actually a sandbox of whatever environment you want it to be, but the typical workflow goes from dev, test to live. So your main master code base is going to be in dev, and you're going to make changes there, and you're going to push it up to test and then to live. Test is basically a copy of the site. It's literally a test environment. You can push your code to test, and then you can also pull your database and files from your live environment into the test environment, and to basically test any changes that you've made to the code base. And then the live environment is your live production environment. Multi-dev is, like I said, it's a copy of any environment that you want to make apart from dev, test, and live. That's like more for team environments, so that you can have multiple people with multi-devs making changes, and then you can merge your changes up to the dev environment from there. Now, I don't know how many of you use multi-devs, but we use them frequently because we are more of a team, team development group. Upstream is the most recent stable release of Webspark 2 distribution. I guess we're gonna go next. Okay, this is the workflow I was talking about. This is a kind of a screenshot of the Summer Camp 2024 demo site that we've created. This is what it looks like when you're multi-dev, dev, test, live. And like I said, you make your changes from the left side, multi-dev or dev, and then push them up through test and live. All right, I think this is me. All right, we're gonna go through local web development. Just a kind of a disclaimer. Everything I'm doing on my local computer right now is I have all the tools already pre-installed. On the next slide, I'm going to show you what those tools are. But depending on what OS you're using, like the installing these tools may or may not be easy. I'm on a Mac, MacBook Pro, so there's a lot of things that are already installed. On a PC, there are differences. So I just want to let you know that we're just going straight into creating a local DDev site, and we're not going to go through how to install all the tools because that might take a lot longer, and it depends on your computer. Okay, let me just make sure I got everything. Okay, here's a list of the tools that we use for local development. Previously, I was using Docker Desktop as a for my web containers. And not just me, but me and some of our team have switched to Rancher Desktop. It's an open source application for creating local spin-ups of sites, basically. I have the URL there. You just want to make sure that you disable Kubernetes when you're setting it up. Also, we use DDev. Some of you have used Lando. I think most of us are using DDev primarily. And in DDev, there's a Pantheon-specific config. So you can visit that URL later and see a recipe for pulling Pantheon sites specifically, which I'll show you. You want to have Git, you want to have Composer and Drush. Composer and Drush will be included when you use DDev. And then Terminus is a command line tool for Pantheon. I'm not sure how many of you used Terminus, but anything you can do in Pantheon, like in the dashboard, or pretty much anything you can do, like as long as you're a team member for that Pantheon site, you can basically on the command line you can do like backups. I want to clone this environment. I can do that in Terminus. So there's this whole command line tool for doing all of those things. And in some cases, there have been issues with the dashboard, and Sometimes both the dashboard and Terminus are affected if there's problems at Pantheon, but in some cases you can use Terminus if the dashboard is giving you problems. And then also I'll be showing you how I use Visual Studio Code editor. We also have team members that use PHP Storm. But VS Code is free. It's PHP Storm, I think you have to have a license. So that's the difference between the two there. All right. Okay, let me get out of this. Let's see.
No, I think
So-
this is good. I think I have to launch into my disclaimers first. I have a bunch of horrifying disclaimers before you.
Oh.
So if you would just want to, I think the next two slides
Yes,
are me,
sorry.
my paranoid ranting here. So these demos are going to assume that you are already following basically the Pantheon workflow. I'm going to describe that a little bit. Camille described it a little bit as well. But basically, we are assuming that the code can move between environments. So things like updates, Camille is going to show how to do an update in one of her demos, but that the live database is going to be the source of truth for content. And so in the demonstration, we're going to be doing things like copying Live's database down into dev and test. That's assuming that you don't have people on your team who have precious work sitting in a dev or a test environment. If they're following best practices, they should not. But I know there are a lot of teams who use dev and test as a sandbox to experiment with building things out. That's actually totally fine as long as they don't expect that stuff, that content to magically move into live, and also don't expect it never to be overwritten. So I just wanted to mention, if you want to blindly follow along with this on your site, just be aware that we're assuming this workflow. So if you don't follow this workflow, there can be some drama. If you want people who want to work in a non-live environment, I would suggest they use a multi-dev, which Camille mentioned. And then you as a developer wouldn't need to touch their work in order to deploy code through the environments. And I use multi-devs all the time when I'm working on new features. That way that I know if updates come in or if I need to make a critical code fix, I can do that in dev and move it through test and live without worrying about having any stragglers or any side effects that I'm not expecting from trying to deploy through something that's in progress that someone's working on in dev or test, if that makes sense. And then I have one more slide about this. This is the Pantheon workflow. This is a helpful link from Pantheon that describes that, but the summary really is code moves up, content, database and files moves down in the environments. And then any exceptions to that workflow, you will just need to consider on a case-by-case basis on your sites. And with that, I think we are free to go, Camille.
All right. Let's see. All right. Let me get out of this here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically we have these multi-devs here. My multi-dev is pizza and Audrey's multi-dev is banana. We just had fun naming our multi-devs. We also talked about how fun it is to do testing in PHP and put pizza, Batman, and as variables, and then have to remove them later before pushing code. That's always fun. Anyway, I have pizza, which is pizza's my multi-dev. This is it is let me show it. Okay, so this is a copy of our kitchen sink site. It is currently on 12.1. Let's see, there it is. Yeah, Webspark 12.1. And what I'm going to do here is I'm basically going to pull a copy of that site to my local computer for working for development. All right, so let's see. The first thing I need to do is I need to copy the code base onto my local computer. So I'm going to do a git clone. Make sure you're in git mode. And this is where you can just copy this git clone command. I'm going to go into VS Code, open up a terminal window. I need to change into my www directory locally. I'm going to paste in And you'll notice that it's pulling the pizza multi-dev branch also, but the folder name is going to be Summer Camp 2024 demo. Do that. We talked about recording this instead of doing it live, but why not just take that chance? Let's do this. Okay. Now I'm still in my www folder. I'm going to change into the Summer Camp folder. Typing is going to be a challenge. Okay. Okay. So now let's see, maybe I should show you the folder. Let's open that folder. All right. So basically I've just done a git clone of the code base. So you can see right here. Cool. Now what I want to do next, I already have ddev installed on my computer, so I can start using those commands. I'm going to do a ddev config. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a .ddev folder in my code base. It's going to take me through some questions. I'm going to go ahead and leave the project name, Summer Camp Demo. It's asking me what is the doc root. In this case, it's going to be web. This is where all my Drupal core files are. So I just need to type web. It's going to ask me what version I'm using. I'm using Drupal 10. Cool. Now it's like, all right. So now it created the ddev folder here. And now we'll do ddev start. Gonna take a hot second. I don't think it's gonna take long enough for me to use my ukulele. Hold on, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, maybe I did. Okay, that was fast. All right. So now we have the ddev config files. And what we need to do now is in the ddev folder, there's this providers folder. And then there is a pantheon.yaml.example file. That file, we're going to make a copy of that file. All right. Oops. Copy. And then we're going to rename it just Pantheon YAML. Okay, cool. And in this YAML file, which is our config, we're going to look for line 44, which this is where you define your project or your site on Pantheon that you're trying to pull the database and files from. So in this case, it's going to be the name of your site or your project dot environment. So I know this is a multi-dev called pizza, and the project name is Summer Camp 2024 demo. Okay, I'm going to save that. Goodbye, goodbye. Okay, now we're going to, now that we have told our ddev where we want to pull stuff from, we're going to do a restart. Ddev restart. So it can read the YAML file that we just configured. And it's going to stop all the containers and restart them, which sometimes takes a minute. And then after we do this, we're going to have to authorize the pull. We have to tell Pantheon that we are totally legit to pull the database and files from the interwebs, from the server. Okay, so ddev auth SSH. Now, I already have an SSH key on my computer. This is a part of the setup. So they'll be like, oh, yeah, hi, Camille. Cool, you can pull stuff from us now. So, oh, before I pull from Pantheon though, I need to do a composer install. ddev composer install. So composer reads composer.json files. Composer.json files are like recipes for your site. And so right now, we just pulled the code base, but we just pulled the recipes. We didn't actually pull all the ingredients. So by doing a composer install, we're going to go out and get all the modules, the packages, and all the stuff to have to set up our site locally. So ddev composer install.
Yeah, specifically important is that her site before she ran that did not have Drupal core at all. It just had a reference to a version of Drupal 4, and now it's actually installing Drupal.
And it's applying patches. It's like composer.json files have all the directions for what to do, what to install, and we're good. Okay. So now we're going to pull the database and files from Pantheon from our pizza multi-dev. So let's see. ddev pull Pantheon. Crossing fingers. Oh, yeah. Do you want to destroy what you just created to pull in this database and files? Sure, because I don't really have anything here right now. If you already had this site set up, and you can do like a Pantheon pull to pull everything again, but that's just doing a check to make sure you really want to do that. So I'm just going to hit enter. So right now it's going to get the database. Oh, precursor. Before you do all this, make sure you have a backup. You have to create a backup in on Pantheon of your environment before you pull anything. Otherwise, it's not going to have anything to pull because it pulls directly from backups. So that's what it's doing right now. It's pulling the database. And then it's going to, after this, it's going to pull files. See, I'm totally going to reach for it and it's going to be done. Watch, watch.
Zoom
think
must
you
think
need
that
to
background
hum.
noise. Yeah,
You-
Zoom must think that background noise and ukulele noise are the same thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
is it doing that whole like,
the noise canceling is just like cutting it out. So I think like if you would hum,
if I
just
play
tell,
harder?
it might
No,
let it
sorry.
through.
Yeah, I was trying to use YouTube earlier and I noticed that. I was like, ew, come on, guys. Okay, so it looks like the pull succeeded. So now we have code base, database, and files locally on my computer of this website. The last thing I'm gonna do is, hold on. What? There is a setting for it? Okay, I'll do that later. Okay, so we're gonna do ddev, and now we have Drush installed because we did a composer install. We got Drush. Awesome. If you guys don't know what Drush is, we can talk to you about that in Slack. Okay, and then we're gonna do CR, which is clear registry, which is also like CC, clear cache. Let's do a for good measure. All right, and now we're gonna do ddev launch and hope that it shows up. Boom. All right, here's pizza locally. This is a local pizza. So you'll see the domain name is ddev.site, and then there's a port. I had to do that because I had Docker installed previous Docker desktop installed previously. So cool. We have a local copy of our site. This is like running off of my computer. But there's one more step because now if we try to sign in, because it's local, let's try to sign in. Dope. Why not? Because this is a local copy. We can't use Kaz. Kaz can't be used to log in because it's a local site. So what we need to do is to create a local login. Some of you might know what a local login. In addition to logging in through Kaz, sometimes you can create a local password for your site so that it's separate from Kaz if you need to, like in this case where you need to get into your site locally. There's a drush command for, so I have a user. My user is in the site, but I don't have a local password for it. So I need to create one. And I'm going to create one and you guys are going to see it and that's going to be okay because it's on my computer, not yours. Okay, let's see. So the command for that, cool, password change, awesome. The path to access your local login is user login cool. And grab that. Okay. Ta-da. Okay. Let's see your status report. Pretty sure we're still on 212. Yep, 12.1. Awesome. Okay. So that's how you like create a local copy of your site, like for Pantheon specifically. Let's see. I want to make sure that I am in the right spot here. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Terminus commands. You can use terminus commands to do things like create a new site, make a backup. You have to have permissions for this, by the way. Your user on Pantheon, your user has to have permissions to do this before you can do it. And you can also use Drush remotely. You can remote to your Pantheon site and use Drush, and yeah, clear site cache. So I'm just letting you know that you can do that. I'm not going to do that right here. Yeah, I'm assuming that we're probably going to have a lot of questions. I'm not looking at the chat right now, but are we doing okay?
Yeah, I think nothing specific to anything that you've showed so far.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's see. Aha! I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna stop sharing, and Audrey's gonna share.
Okay. Couple behind you here. Okay, I am gonna show part of my screen because I'm jumping around too much. So this is a demo, but first I'm going to do some background on what Composer is and what Pantheon's integrated Composer is doing behind the scenes on our sites, because it's a workflow that's kind of unique. And unfortunately, it's sort of so unique that it's not particularly Googleable, some of the specific things that are going on in our world. So Camille did a great job with the recipe description. That was way more interesting. Composer is a tool for dependency management for PHP. If you've worked in JavaScript, you might be familiar with Node Package Manager, NPM. Composer is to PHP what NPM is to JavaScript. So introducing Composer into Drupal was a huge change in the way that Drupal sites are initialized, and really a big change in the code skills that are needed to maintain a Drupal site. So before, those of you who are around in Drupal 7, for example, if you wanted to install a new module, you would visit the modules page on Drupal.org, you'd download the zip file, and you would put the zip file into your modules folder, or you could upload it through the Drupal UI. So the pluses of that is that that's easy to do the first time. Like it's literally just downloading files, which is something that we're all used to doing. And the cons to that, though, is that when you do that, there was no guarantee that the module is compatible with your version of Drupal or other modules that you have going on. And it also doesn't automatically install your dependencies. So if you're trying to install the banana split module, but the banana split module requires the ice cream module, you have to read that and install everything that your module requires. You're doing that yourself. That's something that Composer does for you in Drupal 8 and above. Another negative to the old way is that you have to store the code of each dependency in your Git repo inside of your code base. And so that makes your site code slow to download. Like when Camille did that Git clone, she was pulling down a bare bones scaffolding of the files. She was not pulling down every version of every module that is used on that site because we are using Composer now. So the Composer way to install a new module would be to use Composer require. We're going to dive deeper into that in a few slides. And then you run a Composer build to actually get that code onto your local site. The pros of that are that you don't have to have gigs and gigs of dependencies in your code base. You also don't have so many version problems. So if people have different versions of things on different machines, we could run into a problem of like, it works on my machine. That's something that happens a lot in when you have more than one dev working together. Using Composer makes it easier to require a specific version of a thing. Another thing is it makes updating easier. So you can run Composer update and it will install the latest version of the module that meets the constraints that you have in your Composer JSON. Whereas if you do it the old way, you're going back to the Drupal.org site, trying to figure out what is the most recent version that's going to work with my setup. The cons of Drupal, I mean, not the cons of Drupal, yes, true. The cons of Composer, though, are that you have to have an environment that's capable of running Composer, and that is a big requirement. And also, when you troubleshoot problems with local build environments and using Composer, that's a skill set all of its own. There's new errors that we've never seen before and things like that. So this was a big leap. It was not optional. Drupal has gone towards Composer. So just kind of describing some of the reason that we even have a local build to begin with is to get a better eye on Composer and to try to troubleshoot some of those problems that are happening in Composer. So Camille mentioned these. The two files that we're concerned with Composer in our Drupal sites, the way that ours are set up, are Composer JSON. That's a list of dependencies. You can edit that manually. You can add the name of a module to that and a version. And then Composer lock. So Composer JSON is a list of requirements. Composer lock is a record of the exact version that was installed on your site. One of the benefits of that Composer lock file is, you know, that when you're building a Composer build from a Composer lock, you are going to have the exact same code that another environment that used that same Composer lock is going to have. So all of those little version differences are kind of erased by that Composer lock. And these are some commonly used commands. I'll get into more specifics when we do the demo on how we run these on ours. There's Composer require, which adds a new dependency to your Composer JSON. This happens to me all the time. I forget, even though I do it every day. It doesn't actually install the module. It just adds it to your list of requirement. And then you need to do a Composer build to actually get that code pulled down locally onto your computer. Composer install will install the dependencies in your Composer lock. So not your Composer require. This happens all the time. People update their Composer require, then run a Composer install, and it doesn't pull down the thing you just added because it's looking at your Composer lock, which was created last time you did a Composer build. Composer update, that's the one that we like to use, and I'll show in the demo. It'll install the latest version of all of the modules listed in your Composer JSON. So if you made a change to a Composer JSON file and run a Composer update, that actually will run a Composer build that'll pull it down, and it'll create a new Composer lock as well. So you may have noticed when you do a git clone of your site, when Camille was showing that, it's not including Drupal core, it's not including the contrib modules in the code. Those are not being pulled down from Pantheon. And that is because dependencies that you pull in with Composer are not going to be committed to the Git repo. So you'll see you pull them down locally on your local, they're not going to show up as a diff when you run git diff because they are ignored by Git. And I'll go into more detail about how that works on the Pantheon slide coming up. Okay, I'm almost done with my preamble, I swear. Webspark 2 sites specifically have a couple of peculiarities, good things, good features that are unique to Webspark 2. Specifically, I was talking about that Composer JSON being a record of the things that you want. Webspark 2 sites have 3 Composer JSONs. It's got one in the root directory. That one's primary function is to point to the other 2 Composer JSONs. The one in the upstream configuration directory contains your main dependencies for Webspark 2. So those are set by the Webspark 2 team. The product team makes that file and includes which version of Drupal core and Drush that you want. If you're doing local development, you don't want to edit this file. It is the file, the primary file that is updated when you pull in updates from Webspark. This is one of the most important files that's updated because this is the one that says we want a new version of Drupal, we want a new version of Drush, and all of the modules that go into the Webspark 2 distribution that are outside of the ones that have been built by the product team. So if you look at that screenshot on the right, that's what that looks like. I say don't edit it, but Ruth in the comments mentioned the Drush bug that people are running into on 2.12. You actually do edit it for that. The reason not to edit this is because it'll cause a merge conflict next time you pull things down. The one in custom dependencies is the one that you do want to edit. So if you want to add modules to your site outside of what WebSpark 2 provides, that is the file that you edit. And I will show you that on the next slide. So people on the product team, this was really awesome, put together these custom require commands, and that allows you to use the command line to do composer require, but also get it in the right place for us, which is not in that root file, but is in that subfolder. So if you want to adjust your composer dependencies manually, you can do that. Otherwise, in the demo, you'll see we're running custom require when we're adding new requirements to our site rather than just composer require. If you run composer require, it'll update the composer JSON that's sitting at the root, which is going to cause us merge conflicts down the line, which is why that's been separated out. And the last bit of preamble is that Composer not only runs locally for us when we want things, but it is running on Pantheon. And this is kind of the reason most of the time we want to have a local build is because it's way easier to troubleshoot problems with Composer locally than it is on Pantheon. Because the way that they run Composer, it's not super visible to us, just sitting there looking at the UI. I'll show you a couple things later we can see, but that is still like a genuine issue. So Pantheon will run a Composer build when you push up a git commit that deletes the Composer lock, or if you push up a git commit that sees that there's a change in Composer JSON that's sitting in the root. Pantheon does not recognize changes that have been made to the Composer JSON that's sitting in the upstream configuration folder or in the custom dependencies folder. So that's why specifically one of these two files needs to change. I don't know, can you see my mouse when I do that? One of these two files needs to change in order to trigger Pantheon to do a new Composer build. There's problems with this. When the Composer build does not run, there's often no error message showing in the Pantheon UI. I have seen actually they've started to show some error messages, which have been good, but it's not anything that you can rely on seeing or it telling you that something has gone wrong when that Composer build fails. So oftentimes you could push up a change, Pantheon doesn't like something about it, and you don't know that that Composer build hasn't happened. You have to actually look what version of Drupal is running to kind of get a clue, like that Composer build failed, it didn't run. And then also Pantheon not recognizing when there have been changes to those other Composer JSONs. And that something went wrong message that you get sometimes when you're applying updates from the upstream, that can be a Git conflict, but it can also be Composer build failed. And it will just tell you something went wrong. That's frustrating because it doesn't give you enough information to fix anything. It doesn't even tell you Composer's the reason that something went wrong. And that's kind of the #1 reason why we are here today, to show you the local build, because that is how we can see into that more and troubleshoot that. Okay, these are 2 tips. First, a lot of times I'll do a change and I'll notice a Composer build didn't run or it will fail. Deleting the Composer lock file in the root or running a local build and committing a new Composer lock file and pushing that up to Pantheon will make it run a new build. Other times you can make an arbitrary change to that root Composer JSON, like adding a space, just to tell Pantheon there's been changes, you have to run a new build. And I don't know, it's kind of sad sometimes. I feel like you have to trick it into running a new build, but these are things that we often do when we're working on updates. So now I'm actually going to show a thing. If you want to work along with me, you can do this. Otherwise, you can just watch, but I'm going to install a custom dependency on this summer camp site. So the module we're going to install is Honeypot. It's an extremely useful module for providing spam protection on forms. I like to install it on any site that's heavily using forms that I'm on. If you already have that one, you can do something else. Anyone, Better Exposed Filters is another nice module that does not come in Webspark 2. So I'm going to actually pull my terminal. I am not using the VS Code integrated terminal. This looks less. Oh, Cass, are you seeing your own faces reflected in my thing? I'm so sorry. And move that. Okay.
No, we
So
aren't.
You're not? Oh, okay. I had my little bar on that page. Zoom is so smart. It'll hide your faces from yourself. Okay. So the first step will be to do that require, and because we want it to be in the custom require folder, we're going to run that custom require command. So ddev, and and we're prefacing this with ddev. So we're running the site in a ddev container. So we need to say which composer we want to use. So we're saying ddev composer custom require. If you get tired of typing ddev all the time, you can SSH into the ddev container and then you won't need to type that anymore. I don't bother with it because I'm in and out so often. It's just easier for me to always type ddev. So ddev composer custom require, and then it'll be Drupal if it's a Drupal module, and then slash the machine name of your module that you want. One way you can see the machine name before you have it installed, which helps, doesn't it, is if you have the Drupal.org module page, it will be, this is the machine name of the module. With Honeypot, it's pretty straightforward. With other ones, it's not. So ddev composer custom require Drupal / Honeypot. Okay, and then we'll see it says custom dependencies composer JSON has been updated. That's the one we want. That's great. You don't need to check that. If you put in the right command, it'll be fine. But that's nice that we can see that that's going where we want it to go. So notably, the module has not yet been installed. We just say we want it. It's a requirement. Now we want to actually install it. So we're going to go, sorry, our next command, ddev composer update. And the way I think about this is we're telling it, update the latest version of all the modules you see in the composer JSON that meet our version constraints in the composer JSON. So it's looking at the composer JSON and saying, hey, I see Honeypot. Okay, let's install it. So that's what's happening. So it's not like, I think update, you know, we use it for more than that. Basically, composer, look at my composer JSON. And it's thinking. So this is actually pulling it down and putting it into my my code. So I will be able to go and see in my modules folder that Honeypot is there. This is also where you'll get an error if something is wrong with the version that you're asking for. So this is the useful information that we don't have a lot of visibility into on Pantheon. I will show you a plugin that helps you see some of that on Pantheon too. But if there was something wrong with what we were asking for, if Honeypot didn't exist anymore, for example, this is where we would get that issue. It would say like, no, I can't do it. Okay. Next up, we're going to do, so we've done it. We've installed the new requirement. Git status and see what has changed on my local. This was done by ddev. I'm going to ignore this. The composer lock has changed and the custom dependencies composer JSON has changed. So we can commit both of those changes and that will, that's what we need. You notice, even though I have new files on my local, they're not showing up in this Git status because those are get ignored. We don't actually take Honeypot's code and commit it. We're just committing those changes to composer files. So add composer lock. And what I show on the slide is git commit AM. This will add all and say, I want to write a message. I didn't want to actually add all in this case because I don't want to commit this scraggly change to settings PHP that I know ddev made. I actually don't think it would have hurt anything if I had done that. So you can go ahead and ignore that. Git commit I want to make a commit message, adding Honeypot. Okay. I'm going to check that I'm on my correct branch. Okay, I'm on my banana branch. Okay, so I can push and I don't need to worry about it. Git push origin head. That will push my branch, banana, to the branch that has the same name on origin, which is Pantheon. So while that pushes, we can go to the multi-dev And in a second, we should see something happening here. There we go. Something's happening. So it knows, oh geez, I shouldn't have refreshed. So we pushed up the code. Pantheon is realizing, hey, some composer files have changed and I need to run a new composer build. So that's what it's doing. It can take a couple of minutes to work. When it has happened, Honeypot will be installed on my multi-dev. And then the next thing we're going to do, this is going to take a minute, is to actually enable the module. So the module is in the code base once that composer build runs, but it's not active. The code is not being run by Drupal. So we need to tell Drupal, we actually want to install this module. If you try to install a module that's not there, it'll be mad and tell you it's not there, but this is here. So we should be fine. Oh, this is new. Have you guys ever seen this before? This is new as of like this morning.
That's what they're just that's our composer logs feature, I
Oh, okay.
believe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what they
So
just
most of you will not see
Yeah.
this.
Sorry.
This is a new experimental feature on Pantheon to actually show us how long. Usually there's a progress bar here.
I think, Camille, didn't they say they're planning on releasing it on the 29th?
I can't remember
Maybe
the
top secret,
date.
but I think that's what
There, yeah, it was gonna be soon, but I know they were gonna let our team have that ability. I didn't know it's enabled for us now. Awesome. Coming soon.
So you can see I pushed up this commit. You can see the commit in the code. This is true for everyone, not just the magical workflow module people. I pushed up a new composer lock. If you don't push up a new composer lock, when Pantheon runs the build, it will create a new composer lock and you'll see a little message in here that is a Pantheon commit of that new composer lock file, which happens automatically. So you don't need to worry about that. Just if you see commits from Pantheon, they're often related to composer builds and committing that new composer lock. And that is because after you get past dev, test and live are building from the composer lock. They are not running a new composer build in each environment. When you move it, it wants to be a faithful copy of dev. It will build from the composer lock rather than the composer JSON on those. I think unless you mess with it, there's all kinds of secret hidden things I think you could do. But okay, we've done that. It stopped spinning. So when I go into terminal and I go to activate this module, it should be there and not yell at me. So turn permanence, drush. You're in a site environment. So this one's summer camp 2024 demo.banana. And I'm gonna do PM install. Honeypot. I don't have a ukulele. Hey, it did it. So we know that the composer build succeeded because Honeypot wouldn't have even been there. And this would be yelling at us if it didn't succeed. So that is success. This is how it should work. When things work, that's what it looks like. I want to show you one more thing before I shut up about Composer. The frustrating thing when things go wrong is we have in that build that runs in Pantheon is we have limited visibility. There is a plugin for Terminus. You have to actually go out and separately install it. That will let you see the composer logs that Pantheon is generating when it runs Composer, and that can show you things like I can't find I can't find this module, for example. That would be like the simplest error that you could have spit out. So I'm not going to walk you through how to install this. If you want to go back, the instructions here are good. for how to install this plugin to Terminus. So it gives you new commands in Terminus that you wouldn't have otherwise. You have to go down to Git and actually download it. It's kind of manual. But I will show you how it works so you can decide for yourself if it's worthwhile to circle back and get this. So I have it installed on my local. I'm going to run the command Terminus composer logs. That's very frustrating too, that it doesn't have the same syntax as all of the other ones where composer : logs and then site summer camp demo environment, which is banana. So we're saying, show us the composer logs for this environment. Hit that. And it does take a minute. But anyway, it will let us see the composer logs. They'll pop up in a second. We should actually see the log saying it found honeypot and installed it. Let's see. Yep. We can see this is not from my local. This is from Pantheon saying that the composer log saying that it went and downloaded honeypot and succeeded and is done. This is most useful, obviously, when there's been a problem and you want to find out what's going wrong. Run the commands to see the logs. One big limitation of this plugin though is I've noticed if you create a new multi-dev environment and that initial composer build that it tries to run fails, you will not be able to see the logs. For some reason, if the first one fails, there's just no logs. It's very angry. And for some reason, that's always the time when I'm like, hey, what's going wrong in Composer? I really don't want to make a local build. So that won't work. But otherwise, if you have environments that are set up that you're working in and you don't want to run your Composer build locally, or you want to see what's going on better in Pantheon, that's pretty useful. And I like that. And with that, I think Camille, it's back to you. I'll stop sharing.
Okay, let's see. Cool. Desktop 2. Okay. I did see a in the chat. I think people were talking about that secret workflow tab that has the logs in it. That is a feature on the dashboard that is actually coming for everyone right now. It's in kind of like a beta state on Pantheon. We've gained access to it actually like this week, this week. So it's a really brand new. So it will be available to a wider audience and to ASU org soon. I think Michael was right. I think it's gonna be around the 29th, possibly. But anyway, it is coming, which will be a big help to everyone. I know that's been like probably one of the hardest, most frustrating things about using Pantheon is not knowing what went wrong, just something. Okay, best practices. Let's see. Hey, backup. Do backups, guys. Back up your sites before you touch anything. It's always a safe thing to, even if you're in like in your multi-dev, well, you make a backup in the environment that you're going to be pulling, doing a ddev pull to have a local copy. But also anytime you do anything, even if you think it's like something really small code change, back it up. You can back up every environment. It's a good, and there's also scheduled backups that you can add to every environment. So definitely do that. Also, one best practice also is to work in your dev environment. Use your dev environment for working, and also your multi-dev. But basically, you want to pull your live content down to test and dev and multi-dev. Pull it down and then do your changes there. But also be sure you're not overwriting. Sometimes I've seen where there's been editors have been making content changes in like a test environment or even on dev. because it's like a dev environment, but it's a dev environment, I would say more for code changes. If you make content changes, I've seen this, you make content changes and then you send the dev or the test URL out for approvals. If you have a separate developer from your editors, then sometimes the developer might be going, hey, I got to do an update, and they're going to pull the content down from live, and there go your changes. All your changes get overwritten. So just be sure you're communicating with people, or make sure everybody's on the same page as to what state each environment is in, so you're not overwriting things. And this is also a great use case for a multi-dev. Spin up a multi-dev, pull the live database and files down to your multi-dev, and then do content changes there, and then you can send that URL out for approval if you're having to send it to someone else. And then it's kind of like it's even out of the workflow, so you don't have to worry about any conflicts with anyone else. Also, I think the read release notes. Composer workflow can be complicated. And WebSpark 2 is a very complex code base. And when there are changes that are made, when we're working on WebSpark 2, I don't know if you've seen the release notes, there's sometimes 40 different bug fixes that are made. There are some very specific things that you need to know about when you're doing an update, and it's always read the release notes. It will answer questions because you'll run into things and then you'll be like, how come it's not? And then you read the release notes, you go, oh, that's okay, I got it. So definitely read that and practice. That's also what's great about a multi-dev. Pull a copy into a multi-dev and then practice. I've been practicing this demo all week, and I'm not sure if it's still good. We'll see if it actually works. But it's nice because you can have it separately, and you can not be messing with dev. You can restore a backup even in a multi-dev. So if you get stuck and you need to redo it, just restore from backup, and you can just keep practicing. It's a good thing to do. Something that's good that you can do. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna try this. I tried this earlier and I kind of ran into some issues, but we'll just do it anyway. We're gonna do an upstream update. I'm gonna do it on the local site that I just pulled down. And we also have slides for this. Of course, I didn't put that URL in here, but where it'll show you how to do updates. We have a slide deck that I think is part of our release notes that you can also review, and it has these different commands. But I'll also try to remember to add it to this slide deck. Okay, so I'm going to be doing this locally. So what I'm going to do is I have a site that this pizza site. Well, that's the one. That's not my local site. Let's see. Here's my local site. Okay, so this local site is on 12.1. How much time do we have? I'm just making sure. We have till 4:30, right? I think. Okay. All right, I'm going to add the remote upstream. Oops. Hold on. Okay. Get fetch. Okay. We're going to try to do a merge. Whoops. What's the matter? We have a conflict. There's a conflict.
That's the drush fix.
Mm-hmm. Actually, yeah, it's that, but plus there's something else. So what's nice about VS Code is it'll show you what the incoming changes are.
Oh, never mind. This was all planned.
No, it was different. Yeah, well, because you had already made the change to the drush, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that was already there. It's already in the code base. No, these are other the merge changes for 13. Yeah. Okay. There was something else with Webform. Oh, no, it's there now. Okay. Okay. Merge is complete. Okay, so these are all the stage changes. These are all the changes that are coming in. Let's see. Let's try the merge again. Oh, I need to do a ddev composer update, I believe.
I think you just need to do a git add of all of your
Yeah,
things.
I'm just gonna do it local, and then I was gonna push.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. I think I resolved those. Yeah, so it's updating my local with the changes. And then I can run I'm gonna have to run update DB after this locally. This is for the local. Let's see if this works. Okay, so these are all the changes, the update database update changes that need to be run. So I'm just gonna hit enter, and it's gonna run the updates locally. This is on my local, and I mean, let's check it out. Let's see. I'll do a refresh local. What? Yay! Let's check the status report. Looks like I think we're okay. Let's check it out. Okay. And I'm pretty sure like saw it in the UI, but we can check it here. Yeah, all right. So the local site now has 2.13.1, the newest version. However, we want to commit these changes up to our multi-dev. So let's do a git status. Okay. These are all the changes. You can see renamed, new files, modified, la 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 la. Okay. So we need to commit these changes. But also, what I'm going to do is, because I want to trigger a build, I'm going to remove the composer lock file. Where am I doing that? Where am I doing that? I think I'm just going to do it here. All right, let's do another git status. All right, so I'm going to remove composer lock. Okay, and then I'm going to git commit with a message update to 2.13.1. Git push pizza. I'm gonna do pizza. Hopefully that'll work. All right, it's syncing code. Oh my gosh! Oh, I think I got the sound working. Oh, can you hear that? I'm probably got my headphones on. Never mind.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Oh,
We can hear
cool.
it now.
Okay. Syncing code on pizza. It's taking a little while. Stinking code for you. There's a lot of files. I think that's why it's taking a while. syncing code for you. Okay, let's check it real quick. Still syncing on pizza. This is where recording it makes it a lot more sense, because then you can just fast forward through all these parts, but sorry.
It looks like it's not showing you the new fancy workflow thing. I wonder if I go look at it, if it looks different to me.
Maybe they added it to my exception ID. I don't know. But yeah. It's all good. But it is
Yeah, I
taking a minute.
see a fancier interface on mine.
Oh, what is it saying?
It still says syncing code on pizza, but I can see that it's 28%, which is a
Ooh,
critical detail.
this looks more like 40.
Hmm?
Huh. Okay. Weird. Oh,
Nope, 50%.
there's progress.
I feel like Pantheon needs a progress bar for the progress bar because it'll just like not update.
Right? So we're pushing, I'm basically pushing all these code changes, right? But there's one more step once these files get all the changed files get up there. Then we'll have to run update DB on the remote site as well. So that's also a case for Terminus, which is what I'm gonna do as soon as it's all right. Okay. So that looks good. Well, I guess we could go to the UI and try to do the, but I'm just gonna run Terminus to do the DB update. Let's see, I make sure I got all that. Let's see if it runs. Aha. Do you want to run updates? Yes, please. Yes, please. Okay. Let's see if pizza is still up and running. Yeah. Let me pull this over here. Well, we'll just look real quick here. Just realized I gotta log in. And all right, we have 213. So I still need to check the status report for the remote site, the multi-dev site. I need to get into that multi-dev site. Let's see if I can just see if I can. Oh, dude, go through this. I'll do this over here. So you don't have to see that. I was logged
Her
in
password is
earlier.
pizza, guys.
Don't even get me started. Okay. Ah, duo. Cool. Here it is, successfully signed on to. Let's check the status report. All right. Hello. All right. Ta-da. It actually worked. I was like a little nervous that it wasn't gonna work. Okay, so that's a quick demo of updating your site, your not complex site, your site that does not have a custom sub theme or custom modules, to 2.1.3.1. So we have, let's see, what else do we have on our slide deck? I was expecting that to take way longer than it did. So, okay, let's see. Oh yes, best practices. Remember to run update PHP. You can run it in your UI. You can run it with Terminus, but I think sometimes that's one of the steps that people forget to do is run update PHP, because there might be a lot of database updates, and when you're updating to a new version of WebSpark, there's almost always going to be a updb that needs to happen. So remember that. Check the status page. Oh, I forgot to clear cache. Hold on. Let's go clear the cache. We can clear it here. That's probably the easiest place to do it. But you can also use Terminus to clear the cache too. Let's see what else. Clear the cache. Yeah, I think that's that. Let's see. Is this me or you? I don't remember.
That's me. Yeah, yeah.
That's you. Okay.
Okay, 1 second. I'm navigating the same one. Okay, so after all that, if you run into any trouble with the development processes that we demoed today, you can submit a ticket to the web services support portal to get help. It's out of our scope to help with specific customizations, like I'm trying to build X and it's not working. But it's very common for us to step in on workflow things. This last update to 2.12, a lot of people had difficulty with it, and a lot of what I was doing for the last couple months has been working with people on that. So don't be shy if you have a specific roadblock to trying to implement anything here, to submit a ticket there. If you can also go to the Webspark 2 monthly support hours, this is the kind of thing that would be great for discussion there. And if you follow one of those links, you can sign up for the mailing list, which will get you the invite to those support hours.
Awesome. Yeah. And let's see, these are the QR codes for today's presentation. I think, I mean, we got a little bit of time. We could answer some questions, or, just throw it out there. Let me, oh, well, I'll leave that up. I'll leave that slide up. If anyone has a question, just like chime on in. More ukulele? Okay, hold on. No, I'm not gonna go crazy. But I know some of you were talking about installing some of these some of the software. Yes, it's a little complicated. It would probably be better handled like as a one-on-one Zoom in some cases. So depending on your system, but we could definitely talk about it also in office hours too. Question about Composer update. Can you go over how to ensure Composer always only uses one specific version? Oh, there is, like, that's that option, right? It's Composer update, and then you just put like Drupal slash and then the version of the module. I believe that's it. Let me check. Composer update.
Up above, there's a comment where Travis shares the command
Oh,
in the chat. It's the comment, the largest comment of the bunch. It's at
That's
404.
me.
aha.
Big comments.
Yep, vendor packet. Yep, there it is. It is in the chat. Composer update, and then vendor being Drupal slash, and then package, and then you can put I think there's like a like colon. Well, I can't remember the syntax, but there's if you want to like update to a very specific version of a module, you can designate that in the Composer update
Yeah, I
command.
think you would set the version in the composer require, but this is just if you want to limit the update function to just the packages that you list. So if you're worried about other stuff getting updated that you don't want, to get updated, then you can just target. So like if you added honeypot, you could say composer update Drupal/honeypot, and then it will only update that. But what we try to do with WebSpark is pin the versions to a specific version, so when we run composer update, it won't change anything. But if you have stuff that you've added and it's not pinned, then it might update. So that's something to be aware of.
I also in the chat, I'll add this to the presentation later. Just posted a link to a composer page that talks about the semantic versioning, like the syntax of the way you ask for the version of the module that you want, which is something that I was just kind of guessing and copying until one day I actually looked this up. So if you want above a certain version or around a certain version or as a specific exact version, it just shows you the syntax to use when you're running that custom require command or when you're manually changing those composer.json files.
It's a question from Jeremy. Is there a walkthrough for the Webspark update? All I have is the slide deck. Do we have a recording of someone doing a Webspark update?
I don't think so. By the slide deck, do you mean the one that says updating with conflicts slide deck? Because if so, I made that one and I don't think there was a recording of that session. But if you mean the one that Michael made in the more distant past, then I don't know. I'm going to say probably not, though.
I'm wondering if like Jeremy's talking about, like just going in there and making sure that your, what is it, your YAML files are like distinguishing which version of Drupal that they can support or are recommended for, I guess. And or other things like that, where you have to like actually make edits to files or moving files. I know there was an update that required completely moving some stuff too.
For I think the update to 11 or 10, there was, so yes, there was a architecture changes in the files, which created, like the custom folders. And if you had custom modules or custom subthemes, then you needed to move them into those folders. But I think what's hard about doing a tutorial on updating WebSpark is it can really depend on the update itself and what's happening, but also each individual site could have a lot of very specific things that need to happen. If it's just a basic site that doesn't have any custom modules or custom themes, then it's probably going to be a little bit easier than if you have custom modules or themes. But I know we do have a lot of video tutorials with I believe that's in the web services. Is that right, Audrey, on the web services site?
Yes, but we have proposed and haven't put up yet a separate one about development because those videos are all just UI based content focused stuff right now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there a way we can access the dev support hour recordings anywhere? Are they kept like in a Dropbox or something? Because I know that there's been a lot of recordings there that cover several little things like this.
Michael, do you know? Okay, you got it.
When we me coming off of mute, never. When we record those in one of our support hours sessions, we drop them into a Google Drive. We don't have a page specifically for those, but usually when somebody's asked that we do a recording, we'll then share it in the web community the next day with a link. So trying to go back and pinpoint the exact demo that had that, exact recording might be a little tough unless somebody was on the ball with their naming of the recording.
But I think
yeah,
it is a
so
good request for us to just walk through a not too horrible update on video to have up there. I think that's a good piece of feedback to take back, because that would be a good thing to have.
yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe just
definitely.
different levels of horribleness, like a level 1, which is the UI update, and then a level 2, which is
Well-
like I need to tweak something locally, and then level 3, which is like I have database updates backed up from 2.5, and yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Robert already volunteered for that. So here's your 12 slides, Robert. Yeah, does anyone have any other questions? Are you enjoying summer camp? I am.
I'm going out to Poly tomorrow. It's so nice out there.
If you didn't get a chance to watch the After Effects session, definitely make time to watch the recording, because
Oh.
it's extremely entertaining.
Oh,
So, it's really good.
I believe it. One year I went to the Adobe Max conference. Have you guys ever heard? Oh my gosh. This was like 2016, but it was the coolest thing. And there was an After Effects workshop, and like it was amazing.
Did they have
Very
any
cool.
celebrities there? That's usually when they splash out to get like Ashton Kutcher to show up and be like,
Right. They had some designers that were there that were doing guest speaking and stuff, but I mean, sadly, I didn't really know all of them. But I'm out of the design, not in the design community as much anymore, so I don't know who's the popular guest speakers.
I'm just imagining like guest speakers at conferences. I just want to see Dave Bautista on stage. I love the Drupal. Or something.
My sister went to a HubSpot conference and met those people who do the Fixer Upper show, Joanna Gaines and Chip. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Cool.
I have random pictures with Yo-Yo Ma. I
Wow.
think Obama was one of the Dreamforces. One time it was
That's
weird.
very cool.
There was like so many random people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Drupal doesn't have any celebrities. It's so sad.
Well, speaking of Drupal and Obama, that back then the White House's website was Drupal. Is it still? Has anybody looked
No,
at that?
when Trump came into
Mm.
power, they redid it in WordPress because that was the lowest bidder of all the contractors, as you can imagine. So
Mm.
I'll leave that there.
Interesting. I used to work in state government, and a popular saying was, "Would you like to fly on a space shuttle built by the lowest bidder?"
Right, yeah. Well, let's see. I mean, it's a little early. If nobody has any other questions, I can play us out, or all right. Well, we are in the Slack channels. If you hit up like pound web dash community, sorry, hashtag, hello Gen X, then we're in there. We're always watching that channel. And like, if you have any questions, comments, yeah, thank you so much for coming and listening to us and following along. We appreciate it.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good summer camp.